It started on an ordinary morning, the kind of morning that usually disappears from memory before lunchtime. Commuters stood half awake in train stations, coffee cups warmed their hands, phones lit tired faces with familiar blue light, and the world moved with its usual quiet rhythm. Then someone noticed a number in the reflection of a train window. At first they assumed it was a smudge or a glitch in the glass, a floating digit hanging faintly above the head of the stranger behind them. But when they turned around, the number remained, clear, bright, and impossible to mistake. Within minutes, more people noticed the same thing, and by 8:13 a.m., the world realized every person on Earth now had a number hovering above their head. There had been no announcement, no warning, no explanation. The numbers were simply there, crisp white digits floating a few inches above every human being, as though the sky had quietly decided to start labeling its inhabitants. They appeared in mirrors, in photographs, on security cameras, and in the open air itself. Children saw them. Adults saw them. Cameras captured them. There was no technology anyone could switch off to make them disappear. They were part of reality now, stitched into the world without permission. At first, the reaction was confusion, not panic. News anchors spoke in careful tones, experts appeared on panels offering theories that dissolved into uncertainty by the end of every segment. Governments urged calm while quietly admitting they had no idea what had happened. The numbers varied wildly. Some people had single digits. Others had numbers in the hundreds. A small number of people carried scores that stretched into the thousands. No one knew what they meant, but everyone felt that they mattered. Humans do not tolerate mysteries for long. Within hours, theories formed and spread like wildfire. Some believed the numbers measured kindness, others intelligence, morality, or potential. Social media filled with stories of people trying to test the system, performing good deeds, solving puzzles, confessing secrets, waiting for the digits above their heads to change. They never did. The permanence of the numbers became the most frightening detail. Days passed. Weeks passed. Nothing changed. People began to understand the scores were not reacting to behavior. They had been assigned, fixed, decided long before anyone knew they existed. And once humanity believed the numbers were permanent, everything began to change. The shift was subtle at first. A job interview that ended too quickly. A landlord suddenly reconsidering a lease. A date politely declining a second meeting. No one admitted it openly, but everyone began noticing the numbers before they noticed anything else. The digits hovered silently above heads, and yet they spoke louder than words ever could. Society reorganized itself without laws or announcements. High numbers attracted attention, respect, opportunity. Low numbers attracted hesitation, distance, silence. People insisted they were not judging, not discriminating, not changing their behavior. Yet the world quietly reshaped itself around the glowing hierarchy floating in plain sight. Children adapted the fastest. On playgrounds, numbers became part of introductions, part of games, part of friendships. A generation began growing up believing the ranking system had always existed. Adults watched this happen with unease they could not fully explain. Entire industries appeared promising to raise scores. Courses, diets, routines, therapies, philosophies. None worked. The numbers never changed. Yet people kept trying, because hope is difficult to extinguish when the alternative is acceptance. Then the first violent incident happened. A man with a score of 3 attacked a stranger with a score of 812 in a crowded station, shouting accusations no one fully understood. The world watched in shock, but beneath the horror was a darker realization. Everyone understood the motive, even if they refused to admit it out loud. The numbers had begun to feel like destiny. As weeks turned into months, society grew quieter, colder, more careful. Conversations shifted. Opportunities shifted. People began to introduce themselves with their numbers before their names. Entire social circles formed along invisible numerical lines. Then someone discovered a man with a score of 0. The discovery spread faster than any news in history. Cameras followed him everywhere. Experts demanded interviews. People argued endlessly about what the number meant. Was he the worst person alive? The most dangerous? The most irrelevant? Before anyone could speak to him, before any answers could be found, he disappeared. The same night, every screen in the world flickered to life with a single message: the scoring phase is complete. Nothing happened afterward. Days passed. Weeks passed. The silence that followed the message felt heavier than any explanation ever could. Humanity waited, watching the numbers, waiting for meaning to arrive. And one morning, a single person's score changed. It happened quietly. One number flickered and shifted, as though the system had finally decided to move. Then another changed. And another. Within days, scores began changing everywhere, slowly at first and then all at once, numbers rising and falling in patterns no one could predict. That was when humanity realized the truth. The numbers had never been measuring the past. They had been measuring the future. Lights appeared in the sky shortly after, silent and motionless, hanging above cities like distant stars that had drifted too close. The world watched in terrified silence as every screen flickered again with a final message. Selection begins now. The highest numbers began to vanish first. No flashes. No explosions. No sound. People simply disappeared, one by one, leaving behind empty spaces and unanswered questions. Families watched loved ones vanish mid-sentence. Crowds watched strangers fade into nothing. The lights above remained silent, patient, waiting. And in that final moment of understanding, humanity realized the numbers had never been a judgment of worth, morality, or success. They had been a quiet, patient waiting. And in that final moment of understanding, humanity realized the numbers had never been a judgment of worth, morality, or success. They had been a quiet, patient measurement of compatibility, calculated over lifetimes of observation, waiting for the moment the watchers would return to collect the ones most ready to leave the earth behind. Leaving the rest of humanity staring upward, wondering whether being chosen had ever truly been a reward.